Hi, good afternoon everybody. My name's Simon and we're going to try and speak in English, but I've been told I speak too fast. So if I'm speaking too fast, please someone put their hand up and I'll try and slow it down and repeat. And if we need to, one of the teachers can help with some translation. Okay? So I'll introduce everyone. My name's Simon, I'm the head of ESL, I'm British, and I've been teaching for about 10 or 15 years because in England I was a journalist and I gave feedback to non-native speakers about developing their writing style so that they could publish on the BBC website. So I've given a lot of feedback, but it was not a teaching face-to-face role, it was just development and feedback of their writing ability. In Thailand I have been teaching. I've been here. I also work at the British Council as well as a teacher there. This is Shankar, he's from India. He's got a master's in English. It's his third year here at Untitled. He'll be teaching in grade 7 and grade 8, and he's very popular, he's very friendly. Grade 7 kids like him a lot. He has a lot of fun ideas and activities to make interesting, quite exciting and interesting and engaging. This is teacher Or. She's also teaching in grade 7. She's the coordinator. So if you need to speak to somebody, if you'd rather speak in Thai, the line groups will be manned by her. So there's the first person you can communicate with if you need to contact somebody. This is Craig in the back there. He's British Indian. He's been teaching for more than 20 years. He's worked in Thailand for about 10 or 15 years. Of those, I think he used to work at St. Francis Xavier. And he has a lot of experience. This is teacher Lee. She has an MA in education and developmental needs as well. This is her second year here. She teaches grade 7, grade 8 and grade 10. And this is teacher Phil. This is our newest teacher and she has her degree from Chula and exciting, young, with someone who can engage students closer on their level. So I'm nearly 40. I don't understand teenagers quite as well as I should perhaps, and someone who can contact and talk to them on a more personal level and their age group. So these are our aims, what we want to achieve while students are here with us at Plern. So improve fluency and accuracy in English usage for everyday life and for academic purposes. So a focus of mine is preparing your children for academic purpose. I want them by the end of grade 12 to be ready for IELTS tests, to be ready for entrance tests into university. So we start quite gently in grade 7. We have a second edition of our textbook now. It's a bit easier, so it's a more gentle move from grade 6 to grade 7, getting used to textbooks. By grade 12, the books are very hard. So they're almost not adapted for a second language speaker. They're all National Geographic books and the language is very, very difficult. So it's a real challenge in grade 12. Develop critical thinking and intercultural competence. Critical thinking, super important. So very important life skills. We're asking them to think a lot about what is this text about? What's the main idea of this text? Do you understand it? So have you ever thought about life in different countries, different religions, different global issues? So the textbooks have a lot of global issues about the environment, overpopulation, using too many resources. And again, if I'm speaking too fast, please tell me and I'll try and change. So, and the next one, taking responsibility for their own learning. You may have heard we give them lots and lots of homework. It's actually not that much, but we give it to them at the start of the year and tell them they have 20 weeks to accomplish this. So they can work as hard, as much, or as little as they want to. But it is quite a bit of work. I don't think it's an unfair amount of work. So I'll explain a bit more as we go through what they have to do and how long it should take. And then develop social and leadership skills. So nearly all the work we do in class is in groups or in pairs. We want them to communicate with each other. Normally the teacher is in control of who goes into which groups. So you're not always with your friends. Another important life skill, and as you've all worked, I'm sure, you don't control who you work in an office with You might not be friends, you might not even like the people in your office, but you have to work with them. So another life skill that's important, being able to communicate and work with people who aren't your friends, but you need a job and you have to get it done. Okay? And this is how we do the scores. So, in-class assessments means tests. In grade 7, they will be tested regularly. We aim to get through 4 units in a term. That's about every 5 weeks we do a new unit. They have a test after that. So 7.5% of their grade in Unit 1, same for Unit 2, 3, and 4. So every 5 weeks, they have a formal test that includes a listening section, reading, writing, grammar, and vocab. So we start the writing early. In grade 7, when your kids come over, it's not too hard. So it's paragraphs, a strong sentence to begin, and support your idea. By grade 12, I'm teaching them in grade 12. I expect them to know the 4 different types of essays. So is it a narrative essay, a persuasive essay, an expository essay, introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and conclusion. A proper formal essay, the same as is expected in a university. So in grade 7, a gentle introduction. By the time they get to grade 12, very difficult. And it's difficult to get a high score in this. We're really preparing them for university and the kind of level they need to be ready to write. And extensive reading. So this is something I really care about. And as far as I know, we're one of the only schools in Thailand that does extensive reading. In Korea, in Japan, in Singapore, in Vietnam, in a lot of countries that score very well on the PISA tests, they use extensive reading everywhere. It's really, really big business. Nobody else seems to do it in Thailand, but I'm hoping to change that because it's the absolute best way to improve English skills. And I'm going to talk about that more in detail, so I'll move on now. The term project, 20% of their grade, and slightly different for grade 7, 8, 9, and grade 10, 11, and 12. So grade 7, 8, and 9 are having to work together this term to tell us about their PBL projects. So PBL is a big part of their life. It's a big project that they have to do, and normally they would only use Thai to do that. So they choose something, they start, and they have to develop their own idea for PBL. What can they do to improve something, to change the world? Now they have to do it in English as well. So we chose groups from grade 7, 8, and 9, and again, social skills, people they wouldn't normally ever have to work with, they're now in a group with, and they have to produce a movie about their PBL projects. Then they have to do a presentation about somebody else's in their group. So someone in grade 7 will have to tell us why someone in grade 9 chose to do their PBL project. So they have to talk to each other, they have to develop a way to work together, they have to produce a finished product together as a group. And the online workbook is, as it sounds, it's a workbook which is online. It's really just exercises that match what we're doing in class. So the Pathways textbook is online. It has additional work that matches what's being done in the textbooks. English Mate is movies, so they get to watch movies, and again, there's a slide I'll show you in a bit more detail what it is. But essentially, they watch movies, and it gives them the language as they're watching the movie. And then speaking exams. So we had speaking exams last year. Now we have more speaking exams. So we have one every 10 weeks. I want to really highlight to them that speaking is an important part. It's very difficult to get people to speak without forcing them, and we don't want to force them and make people uncomfortable, but I want to explain to them this is a skill you need. So speaking is one of the most important parts. You can communicate anywhere in the world if you can speak. If you can't write an email, that's not great, but if you can talk to somebody, you can tell them what you need. So the first speaking exam every term will be interviews, preparing again for entrance to university and for jobs later in life. So in grade 7, we're a little bit more forgiving of the language we're expecting. We don't expect it to be amazing full answers when people ask, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Tell me about a time when you've handled a difficult situation. So we have a lot of really common job questions and interview questions for university, and it's about building up your answer. So if you start in grade 7, of course your answer will not be great. But you do it again in grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. By the time you're in grade 12, the answers you have will be so much better. You've done this 6 times already. Every year, you've repeated it again and again. You've developed your answer. So by the time it comes to a real interview, it's not stressful because you've done it so many times. And the second mirrors exactly what an IELTS test is. So I teach a lot of IELTS, and we've done some IELTS exams. The same common topics come up again and again and again and again in IELTS. So about society, about health, about food, about your hometown. These topics come up again and again and again in IELTS. So preparing your answers is an absolutely fantastic way to be ready when you finish school. And you need to take an IELTS test. It's difficult and stressful, but you have this bank of information that you've already prepared. So when it comes to taking the test, you're much more confident. And like I say, it's about building skills from grade 7 up to grade 12. So by the time they finish in grade 12, they're very confident and able to use English for what they need, which is primarily academic purposes. By the time they're 18, they're either looking to stay in university in Thailand or go abroad. A lot of them might be going to international programs which need a band 6.5 or 7 IELTS score. That's very difficult. To get a band 7 IELTS is very difficult. You have to work hard and you have to be prepared, and that starts in grade 7. These are the textbooks. They're also at the back if you would like to have a look. So they're National Geographic books, and they're not traditional teen textbooks, which normally is about social media or about football or music or whatever somebody as old as me thinks teenagers like when they make these textbooks. These ones are about more difficult topics, but are actually interesting. They're especially interesting to me, and we're trying to find ways to keep them interesting for children as well. So it's about how we interact with the world and the impact that we have on the world. We have a grammar book for each level as well. So the Grammar in Context 1 is split in 2 halves. So there's 1A and 1B in grade 7 and grade 8, and then all the way up to 3A, 3B in grade 11 and grade 12. Grammar in Context, I liked it because first, at the beginning of every unit, there's a story that puts the specific grammar into a story. So it is in context. You can see it working in the story. It's highlighted. It asks you questions in that story. And it gives them a lot of very good controlled grammar practice. And I'm sure you remember learning grammar. It's not the most exciting. The book is not amazing. It doesn't have super fun things to do. But grammar is grammar. It's important. It needs to be done. This book is quite engaging, but it is what it is. It's controlled practice and work they need to do. And then the electives. So I teach the IELTS in grade 12. Craig teaches the IELTS in grade 11. It's about giving them the options to prepare. So if you want to be ready for an IELTS, then in grade 11 and 12, that's when we're teaching you. So it's really about what is the test, how can you be best prepared to take this test. The Perspectives book is based on TED Talks. So we offer that in grade 10 and grade 11, and you go through a TED Talk. What does it mean? You watch some of a TED Talk and you discuss the issues. It's about seeing language in context, often quite difficult language and difficult ideas, and working to understand the language that's there. The IGCSE is entirely optional. So the GCSE exams are the exams that most students take in international schools. So you do an IGCSE in physics, chemistry, maths. We offer the one in English for students that want to take it. So they study in grade 10 and grade 11, then they have to go to the British Council in Siam Square and take the exam. So we can't offer it here, it has to be an approved centre. You have to pay, I'm afraid, to take that. It's a similar cost to an IELTS test, but they take it at the beginning of grade 12. An IGCSE is a qualification that's recognized all over the world. So most jobs, all academia will know what an IGCSE is. It's a very well-respected exam. Some universities accept it in place of an IELTS test. So if you get a B or an A on an IGCSE in English as a second language, that's the equivalent of getting a 6.5 or a 7 in an IELTS test. So it's a good way, again, for students who want to push themselves and work hard. It's a good way to prepare and have a nice qualification. So maybe it won't be perfectly accepted at your university, but they'll know what it is. Another thing for your portfolio that's useful as you're getting ready to go to university. And this is MReader. So the extensive reading forms 25%, and in grade 7, they have to read 150,000 words in 20 weeks, which sounds a lot. It's really not that much. So in grade 7, the average reading speed is between 200 and 250 words per minute. Extensive reading means students should be able to read at the same speed in English as they can in Thai. So we have the graded books. If you want to have a look at the back, please do. At the lower level, they're very easy, simple sentences. It's about finding your level for individual students. So the strongest students can read higher levels, the weaker students can read lower levels, and practice the language they do know. It's not about learning new language, it's about practicing the language that you know already. And I'll come back to extensive reading again because it's something I care about, but as you can see, 150,000 words, about 200 words a minute an average person can read. 750 minutes is about 38 minutes a week. So it's not unreasonable amount of homework. This is my ELT. So it's the online workbook. They can use their mobile phones or a tablet. We give them some time in class to do this work as well. It's about 15 exercises per unit. They take about 3 or 4 minutes per exercise, and they do have some time in class. So not a huge amount of work. What we have, we give them at the beginning of the year. It seems like a lot when they start, but spaced out across the 20 weeks, it's not an unreasonable amount. And this is English Mate. So English Mate is watching movies. They have to watch 4 movies, and on the screen, while they're watching the movies, is the subtitles in English. If you press pause, the subtitles come up in Thai as well. So you can understand. There's a lot of phrasal verbs, there's a lot of idioms and figurative language that's not easy to understand, but you press pause, the translation comes up on the screen at the same time, so you can see what's going on. It also has a lot of the vocab coming down the side of the screen. It stays on the side of the screen while they're watching. You watch the movie in 3 parts. After the first 35 or 45 minutes, it stops and asks you questions. What was this movie about? What does this word mean? So, comprehension. Did you understand what you just watched? Okay, now moving on to the Oxford Placement Test. So, the Oxford Placement Test is a test of English administered by Oxford Publishing. So, Oxford is one of the biggest publishers in the world. They have a very respected online test, which we do not control, we're not involved with. We just pay them, so it's completely unbiased. We can't cheat it in any way. It's to show us whether students are improving or not. So you can see whether your son or daughter improves over the time that they're here. So what it does is ask them 30 questions for reading comprehension, and then 15 questions for listening comprehension. It gives you a score based on your ability to keep getting answers right. So everything starts off easy. If you get it right, it goes harder and harder and harder. You get one wrong, a little bit easier. Wrong again, a little bit easier. Until it finds a line in the middle that says, this is your English level. So it doesn't just stop quickly. It asks you lots of questions, and it keeps going easier and harder until it can say, this is where your English is. The score it gives us is a CEFR score. So the CEFR is the Common European Framework of Reference for Language. This is how the Europeans measure exactly what you should be able to do at certain points. So for example, everyone in this room is a C2 native speaker of Thai. If you're C2, that means your native language, that's how good you are. So I'm a C2 native speaker of English, you're C2 native speaker of Thai. C1 is an excellent user of English. And that's where the band 8 to band 7 lies. Band 2 is a very, very strong, sorry, B2 is a very, very strong user of English. You're able to communicate very well on any subject. You're limited by vocabulary for specific situations. So you can go and talk to a doctor about a problem, and he will list some words you won't know, but when talking, you'll be able to understand what the problem is. You can find a way to talk around the problem. And then moving on down to B1, A2, and A1. A1 means you have difficulty communicating. I food now. I go tomorrow. You know the words, you can't use the tense correctly, you don't have a wide variety of vocab, but you can communicate basic ideas. That's what you need. Okay, and this is last year's test. So the grade 7 who are now in grade 8, we test them at the beginning and the end of the year. So at the end of the year, you can see a lot of them had improved. The red lines have gone up. So B2 by the end of the year, that's nice. The one that I'm really the most happy with is the A0. So when they arrived, they're A0 on the test. That means the score cannot really be measured. So they consistently kept getting answers wrong on the OOPT test. They couldn't really understand the questions. They maybe got 1 right, 5 wrong, 1 right, 5 wrong, and it couldn't give people an overall score to say this is your level on the CEFR. So we couldn't really measure. No A0s by the end of that year makes me very happy because it means we were doing the right thing. So we split students based on their ability rather than just their homeroom class. And it's not the most popular, or I admit the most kind thing, but the reason we do it is because nobody remembers your GPA in grade 7. Nobody asks you what was your GPA in grade 7, but they might ask you what was your GPA in grade 12. So if there's a problem, let's fix it as early as we can. So when you're in grade 12, this is just a memory of something you did a long time ago. So I can't let people just go through and not try and fix the problem. It's a problem we have with some of the higher grades because when I arrived, they'd been allowed to go through and we didn't manage to fix that problem early enough. And then in grade 11, grade 12, they don't really want to have a separate class and be away from their friends at that stage. If we catch it early and don't give people the choice, then they have to get used to it, they accept, and they improve, and that's the most important thing. So they're much better able to take all the tests that we give them when they need to. Okay, and I'll just show you the rest of the scores. So this was grade 8, moving slowly through a couple of C1 people. Grade 9, moving up again, so green was the year last year. Grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. So that's the grade 12 that's just graduated there. About 60% or so, C1 or B2, which means if they were to take an IELTS test, somewhere between 6 and 7.5, that's what they would be getting in their IELTS test, which is pretty good. So I don't know exactly how many people took an IELTS test. I know 3, and they all got a 6.5 on their IELTS, which got them into the programs they need to get into. And that's really what we're aiming for, is we'd like as many people to be at least B2 by the time they leave us in grade 12. How often? Yeah, once a year. So grade 7 do it twice when they first arrive. So if your sons and daughters come here, we'll give it to them as they arrive. Actually, at the end of grade 6 last year, we did it, and then again at the end of the year. So we have a point of reference because that's the first real test that we have when we meet them is that OOPT test. So we look at the grades from grade 6, but the way it's scored in grade 6 isn't the same as we score in grade 7. About 80% of the score in Pratham is based on like teacher input and teacher observation, and only 20% is based on testing. We have a lot more is based on things you can measure. So did they achieve this? Did they read this many words? What did they get in their tests and exams? So we test them at the beginning of the year. That's how we put them into different classes. And then it's about observation from the teacher and the results that they get. So they can move up or down levels based on how they perform after they're here. But yeah, the first one is, that's the first measurement we make. Okay, and this is just an example of the curriculum. If anybody would like a copy, please write your email address down and I'll email you a copy of our curriculum. It's quite long. I'm just going to have a quick look at how it goes through the listening. If you've looked at the Pratham curriculum, it's the same thing we just developed. It's based on the Singaporean curriculum, and the Singaporeans have done a huge amount of work, so we followed their leads. They have an excellent curriculum that's very, very detailed. So I went through and matched all of the skills that they have based on the textbooks that we're using and the work that we would do in class here. So we start off with listening, L1, L2, L3, L4. So let's see the mouse. So up here you can see L3, and then the next slide is L4. So L1 is the lower level learning skills. Can you listen and can you understand what's happening? Up to L4, much more difficult skills. It's how controlled are you in being able to understand the tone, the pitch of what people are saying? Things like sarcasm, is that changing the meaning of what's being said to you? So it's no longer just the main idea. How able are you to understand really difficult parts of listening? And then this is actually from the textbook. So I just want to highlight, it's the same in listening and in reading, what we're checking. So always looking for main idea. Do you understand what people are asking you? Do you understand what people are telling you? Main idea runs through every single one of these. So this is grade 7, listening to check predictions, main idea and detail. Grade 8, main idea and detail, inferences, speaker's purpose and prediction. Grade 9, main idea, detail, specifics, tone and attitude. Grade 10, note-taking, main idea, detail. Grade 11, content, main idea, detail. Grade 12, content, concept, note-taking, and main idea. Main idea, main idea, main idea. Do you understand what people want from you? That's the most important thing in listening and in reading. So I'm just going to move across to another slide. Hopefully my computer doesn't explode. So this is the presentation tool that we would use. This is the foundation level of text. So this is the topic. It's about overpopulation and megacities in grade 7. I just want to show you what the text looks like to begin with. So as I said, we're just on the 2nd edition of Pathways now, and the National Geographic had a lot of complaints, I think, about their first foundation book being too hard, and now they've gone in the other direction and made it quite easy. So you can see the vocab they're introducing here: restaurant, job, hotel, countryside. Not the most challenging, but we're quite happy because it's an easy introduction in grade 7. So it's not too painful when they start. It gets harder in grade 8, by grade 9, and then grade 10 is very difficult. So this is the level of a story to begin with. Not very long, The Face of 7 Billion, about 5 or 6 paragraphs in total, and then it's asking you main idea and concept questions. What are they telling you in this paragraph? So main idea, most important, can you understand what this is talking about? So we do a lot of critical thinking tasks and main idea tasks, try and focus on what is this about? That's the most important thing. And then I'm going to show you grade 12's one as well. So just to give you an idea of the level of difference as we go up to grade 12. Okay, so the vocab for this one is much more challenging, like scarcity, affordable, maximize, regulate, innovative, prioritized, authorized. These are all words that are on the academic word list. If you don't know the academic word list, it's the most common words that appear in all academic texts. So the University of Victoria in New Zealand did a study about the words that you see most often in academic texts. This is what we teach them from Pathways. In grade 12, I give them horrible nightmares about vocabulary because I give them so much that they have to learn to prepare them for ONETs, for GAPATs, and for IELTS testing. Do you understand these ones? There's a lot of vocab you need to build by the time you're in grade 12. And it starts at the beginning in Pathways and works its way through. And this is the story. So the story, much more longer and much more difficult, And this one is about the human age, which is the Anthropocene, which is a word I did not know when I started teaching this, so I had to go away and Google that one as well. The Anthropocene is the human age that we're living in now, so we're no longer in the age of dinosaurs. We're now in the human age where we are killing the planet. So it's not a cheerful topic, but it's very interesting what they've written about. So it's a long, difficult, and pretty detailed text. Sorry, my mouse is clicking through 2 times. So that's the kind of level of text by the time you're in grade 12. It's really very difficult. So please have a look at the books and the progression as they go through from grade 7 to grade 12. It's really developing the skills that they need. Okay, is there any questions now? I'll pause now before we go through to the end. Is there any questions anyone would like to ask?
From your 3 years as Pearl Patana, right? Yes. What do you think about strength and weakness of Pearl Patana student?
So, generally quite confident, and I think there wasn't a huge focus on reading and writing before, and this is something that for a lot of schools they just don't do it because it's not worth their time to do speaking, listening, and writing because it's not on the ONETs. A lot of schools think, oh, we only care about the ONET scores, let's not bother teaching this. And it would probably increase the ONET scores if we only did reading and grammar. But they leave in grade 12, what are they able to do with English? They got a bit higher on their ONET test, but they can't speak to anybody. They can't understand what someone says. Ask them to write an essay or an email, and there's no hope. A lot of problems students have with writing is you give them a blank piece of paper, and even the most confident, chatty young child will look at that blank piece of paper and go, oh, I have nothing to say. I have no idea. And it's a skill. It's just a skill you have to work on and develop. If you start in grade 7, by the time you get to grade 12, it's not hard. You see a difficult essay question, and you're like, oh, okay, I know what to do. I can plan that, and I can start writing an essay. If no one has ever asked you to write anything before in your life, then it's just too hard to do. So generally, students at Plern, I think, are quite good. They're quite strong. I was happy when I came here. There is a mix, of course, from like super motivated to less motivated students, but they're teenagers, that's normal. If you're expecting every teenager to be working 16 hours a day without stopping, then you're probably in the wrong job. So generally, they're pretty confident in terms of actually speaking and understanding. They work hard, they get on well with each other. So I'm pretty happy with the level that they're at. I think it's going quite well.
I'd like to ask about the extensive reading.
Okay.
And when you said that you have a certain words amount per week for them to read, how can you know that they read?
The M-Reader is the website that they have to log into. They have to answer questions about the book that they've read, and it's either pass or fail. So they don't have to pass every single question. It's about 60% is what they need to actually say they've read the book. We don't want to punish people by failing them if they didn't read the book. If they did read the book, they should generally pass the test. It asks them questions, what happened in this part of the story? Put these things in the correct order that they happened in the book. Who is this character? It's comprehension questions to see that they understood. And then if they get it right, it adds the score to their total.
You mean you will check every website, that certain website?
That website. So I can show you. Let me see if the internet is connected. I can log in and show you.
เป็นเว็บไซต์ที่ผู้ปกครองก็ใช้ username password ของนักเรียนเข้าไปดูก็ได้นะคะ
หมายถึงว่าคุณครูเขาก็จะตามดูของเด็กทุกคนว่าอ่านอะไรไปบ้าง
ใช่ค่ะเพราะว่ามีคะแนนอันนี้ด้วยค่ะ
So this is what it looks like for the teacher. So this is my grade 12 class. Every time they read a book, they take a quiz. And if you can see here, so this top student here, this is Sayuri. She's read 7 books. She's taken 7 quizzes, and she's passed all of them. So it is possible that they can fail a quiz. We're not monsters. If they fail, they can come and talk to us. And if they can explain the book, then we'll add the score. We don't want to punish people if they actually took time to read it, but it's to try and discourage people from cheating. We're still trying to find perfect ways to stop because they're teenagers. They're usually smarter than us in terms of technology. They have found ways to cheat. So, you know, the person who knows the answers to books that have a lot of words, he's the most popular person in school now because people go and ask him to help. But we're trying to find ways. Grade 12, because they're leaving and they're not so scared, will try and help me at the end of the year. What was the best way to cheat, to try and stop people from cheating in the future? Because this really, I'm about to talk more about extensive reading and why it's important, like the purpose that it serves. But they log in, they see a quiz, they answer questions about the book. They have 15 minutes to answer 10 questions about the book. If they read the book, they'll probably pass the test. It's really, the idea is that people can read for pleasure, enjoy reading, but again, they're teenagers. We are forcing them to do it. I would love it if everyone enjoyed it and read it because it's fun, because it's the absolute best way to improve English.
ตรงนี้ผู้ปกครองช่วยได้นะคะเพราะว่าเมื่อกี้ที่เชอร์ไซมอนก็ย่อยมาแล้วว่า150,000 คำสำหรับนักเรียนชั้น7นะคะถ้าได้อ่านสัปดาห์ละ38 นาทีนักเรียนก็จะอ่านได้นะคะทีนี้38 นาทีต่อสัปดาห์เราก็ไม่อยากจะให้ยาวขนาดนั้นถ้าเป็นไปได้ฝึกวินัยไปด้วยอาจจะแบ่งสัก2 วัน3 วันนะคะให้ลูกเราอ่านเนี่ยวันละ15 นาที20 นาทีอย่างเงี้ยค่ะคือบางทีเขาอ่านแล้วเขาก็ลุกไปเข้าห้องน้ำบ้างกินน้ำบ้างอย่างเงี้ยนะคะแต่ถ้าเราจัดให้เป็นนิสัยฝึกวินัยไปด้วยก็ช่วยเขาได้ค่ะ
ใน M reading extensive reading เนี่ยคือเนื้อหาคนละอันกับ pathway ใช่ไหมหรือว่าคนละอันแล้ว pathway นี่ก็คือเป็นหนังสือเรียนแล้วมี practice อะไรในนั้นด้วยเหรอ
pathway เป็นหนังสือเรียนนะคะแล้วก็มี workbook ออนไลน์ในนั้นนะคะส่วน extensive reading เนี่ยเป็นเว็บไซต์ที่นักเรียนจะเข้าไปทดสอบว่าตัวเองอยู่ระดับไหนแล้วก็ไปเลือกเล่มจริงๆในห้องสมุดไปอ่านแล้วก็เข้าไปในเว็บไซต์เพื่อตอบคำถามนะคะแล้วก็ทีเชอร์ก็จะเช็คอีกทีนึงคือมาตอบปากเปล่าอีกทีนึงด้วยนะคะ
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit more about extensive reading and what it is. So extensive reading is really the very best way to practice the skills you already have. So, like I said, we would love it if they enjoyed reading. For a lot of students, it's not the worst thing they've ever done in their life. They find a book that they like, and it's not horribly painful. I love reading, and it's a skill that is being generally lost. Reading for pleasure. People have their mobile phones, and they don't read as much as they ever used to. We do force them, but for a lot of them, I don't think it's that bad. I think they generally do get some benefit in terms of enjoyment. In terms of English, they definitely do improve. So these are the levels, again, all linked to the CEFR. So the books we have are not native level books. They're books that have been rewritten specifically for second language learners. So they'll have stories that people recognize, like Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, famous books like Romeo and Juliet, and things like that, but they've been rewritten for somebody at different stages of English learning. So the easy starts, 200 head words, means you will not see complex languages. You will see simple clauses with short sentences, full stop, short sentence, short sentence, short sentence. Seeing the correct grammar in context. And so why extensive reading? Extensive reading is so popular all over the world. It's more than 30% of junior and senior high schools in North Asia have ER programs. In China and Vietnam, as I said, most of the countries that perform really well on the PISA tests do extensive reading. There's a reason why. Because it is effective. It's one of the few areas that science and linguistics agree actually does work. So teaching languages, a lot of it is opinion, like what is fun, what isn't fun, what works, what doesn't work. Extensive reading is one of the only things all linguists agree definitely does work. So 50% of private colleges have ER programs. There's been a 1,500% growth in ER in 10 years in Japan. The Japanese really love extensive reading. They're developing a lot of the websites that we use to test the kids with. And huge growth in Korea and Taiwan. A lot of interest in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia, but not Thailand at the moment. So I would really love to change that, because everybody who I talk to, who I tell are doing extensive reading program, they're quite surprised, and they also say, oh, you're the only person I've ever heard who's doing it in Thailand. And I've talked to quite a few of the professors in Japan who are interested in using Plurn as a case study, because people have tried in Thailand and it hasn't worked, and nobody knows exactly why. But I keep forcing it through here because it's something I really do care about and something that really does work. So if we can keep pushing it through, if we can get students on board, get parents on board, and I keep explaining why it's so important. So the example I normally give is I don't actually have a pen, but if I held up a pen and I said, what is this? You know that it's a pen, because for the last 20 or 30 years, pen, 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 how many times have you heard it in context? So many times it's burnt into your brain. But that's not the same for more complex grammar, different forms of verb to be, how to use the present perfect in context. You haven't seen it as many times in context, so it's difficult to remember how to use it properly when you need to. And that's the same for students. So this is your typical structure. Probably you saw the same thing when you were in high school. Your teacher shows you your textbook, Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have the verb to be in Unit 1, page 1 of every textbook, and then you learn them. Each unit has something new, but they don't really focus on going through the same language again and again and again throughout the year. So a lot of the theory is, we've done it, okay, let's do something new. Let's keep learning something new. So the idea is that teaching causes learning, but in reality, what happens is you tell a student something on Monday, by Friday it's gone a little bit, in 3 months, it's completely gone. And that's the same for everybody. Like, if someone tells you something today, will you remember it in 3 months? Probably not. And that's what we expect students to do. We tell them something in the first week of term, and then we just hope that they remember it by the time you come to it again next year. And of course they don't. How could they? It's not possible. And that's what extensive reading is instead of just teaching it one time and hoping that they remember, extensive reading builds the whole thing together, because you introduce the language and then you use it because you see that language again and again and again in context. We teach you the verb to be, and no matter what level you're at, if you're at the lowest level of books, is, am, are. You see them in context, correct, again and again and again. You see good sentences again and again and again. So if you start in grade 7, 150,000 words in the first 20 weeks, by the time you finish in grade 12, you've read 2 million words in mReader. With that volume, the verb to be should be no problem for you at the end. You've seen good grammar and great sentences. You've developed over time so that you're reading the more difficult books. By the time you're in grade 12, you're seeing very complex grammar. So all of them have 2 clauses. They're linked by relative clauses. They have conjunctions. They have conjoiners. There's so much more complex grammar at the top level, and you're seeing it again and again and again. So you're confident in being able to use it when you need to write, when you need to speak for these IELTS tests, for interviews, and for entrance exams for university. You have the language there because you've used it so many times. You've read it so many times in context. And the reason I really like it is because it's about the individual student. So if you're motivated, you can start in grade 7. Push yourself, read as much as you can, improve as much as you can. you will be much, much better. So we keep buying books every year, and we will keep buying books every year. We have lots of content. So if they arrive in grade 7 and they're very strong, they can push themselves and keep getting better so that they're amazingly good at English. I'm still hoping one day on the CEFR scale to see a student leave here at C2, so a native level of speaking. That's really what we're hoping for with some students. But I really want everyone to be B2. So we're pushing and pushing and pushing, but any parent who can help, please do. Whenever they ask, do we have homework, you know they have homework. Always, at all times. We don't give them much else. We're not giving them a huge amount of other homework to do, but they always have a reading book. So if you want to ask them, what are they doing? Always ask, what's the book about? Tell me the story. And just concept check what it's about. Say, oh, I don't know that story. Or ask them to bring a book home that you can read with them as well. Anything that you can do. And if you'd like to start that in grade 6 now, you absolutely can. So you can borrow books from our library here. I'll create an account for mReader. If you want to practice that, please do. You're absolutely welcome to do that. And it would be a great introduction for them so they're ready when they come into grade 7. They've got the idea, they've read the book, they've taken a test. It's nothing new to them. And so going on from there, this is what happens with the vocab. If someone just gives you a sheet and says, vocab, there you go, enjoy. It's something that's really, the human mind, I don't think, is designed to process information like that. If you don't see it in context, it's so hard. Just a word with a definition, it's not easy to use, remember in any way. So extensive reading is like this cheerful chap. It's the wall, it's the cement that builds and holds a wall together. Because you see these words, you see them in context, you see them in good sentences, it makes it much easier to remember and to use them. And if you have a phone and you want to take a photo, these are some of the most famous linguists in the world, working at the top universities from MIT and Stanford and University College London, Oxford and Cambridge. One of the only things everyone agrees on is extensive reading does work. It's really, really good. It's very important. There is almost nobody who disputes this. So if we can get it to work and we can get students on board to actually read and engage, it really does help. If you'd like more information, please visit this website. There's loads and loads of information about this. There's lots of the science behind it. There's lots of the statistics behind it and the reasons why it's so important. Okay, I'll pause again in case there's any questions about extensive reading or mReader.
extensive reading นะคะถ้าป .6 นะคะน้องป .6 grade 5 too
Sure, grade 5. Anybody, if you want to set up, I can set up an account for anyone. You can borrow books from our library. That's fine.
ค่ะถ้าใครสนใจนะคะก็แจ้งชื่อได้เดี๋ยวไปเขียนชื่อที่ครูภูเอางี้ดีกว่าเดี๋ยวครูส้มเปิดบล็อกให้นะคะแล้วก็เดี๋ยวเปิดช่องทางสื่อสารให้ถ้าสนใจที่จะให้ลูกๆได้ลองดูนะคะก็เดี๋ยวที่เชอร์ไซมอนจะสร้าง Account ให้นะคะแล้วก็ลองให้ลูกยืมหนังสือในห้องสมุดเราเนี่ยแล้วลองเข้าไปอ่านเข้าไปดูกันได้นะคะมีคำถามอะไรไหมคะ
Yes, sorry, but this may not related to extensive reading so much, but I want to know how would you bring up the grammar level to the same communication skills and comprehension skills that the children have right now? Because like my son, he can communicate well, he can understand, his listening skills is good, and he can comprehend most of the thing that he read. But grammar-wise, he is like 0.
Okay.
When I point out what is the part of speech of the sentence of the words, he doesn't know a noun from adjective from adverbs. And how would you bring up the grammar into the almost the same level as other things?
Okay, and that is 100% what extensive reading is for. We don't explicitly teach like what the parts of speech are in grade 7. We hope that they might know that. If that's a big problem, then we might have to go back and try and teach that. But to actually identify and be able to reproduce good grammar in context, that's what extensive reading is for. That's the entire purpose of what it is. It's not new language. The idea is you can read everything and understand 98% of what is on the page. So if they have to use a dictionary, it's too hard. That's not the purpose of extensive reading. It's not about learning new language. It's about the language you already know, using it properly. And that's how they improve their grammar skills, because they see the grammar they've been taught again and again and again and again.
The thing is, for example, when you said that when a child read a certain sentence for many times, then he remembers the structure, right? For example, he has the sentence, right? He has a new car. He gets the word new, he gets the word car, and then it's like the grammar thing is lost to him.
Okay.
Because now he has the idea of new car already. He knows that, okay, this is about someone got a new car. But the grammar part, like has lost to him.
Okay.
Things like this.
Okay. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure what or how is taught exactly in Pratom without like going through the books that they're using. So I can't 100% say where he's missed something there. We do teach quite formal and structured grammar, and quite a lot of it in the textbooks here, so they'll have a better understanding. And I mean, you can have a look again. The textbooks are at the back for the grammar. There's a lot of information and a lot of like formal, controlled practice of using grammar.
But you do have a grammar test, right?
Yes, I mean the grammar is a separate subject. So in grade 7 we have either 6 or 7. Is it 7 now? Lessons per week, and one of them is grammar. And grammar is a separate subject that is scored separately. So they have the ESL core subject, and they have grammar as a separate subject, which they have to work from that book. There is also grammar on their final tests as well. So we do a lot of controlled practice of grammar.
Yeah, what I'm trying to tell you is that the level of reading comprehension might not reflect the level of grammar that they have.
Okay. So you think that they're generally quite advanced with the reading, but the grammar is something that's passed
They kind
them
of
by.
get the idea, but they don't know the grammar for... I know the grammar is not that important in communication, but to pass the test or exam,
absolutely.
it's really important.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have the enough grammar skills to pass the exam.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, we do, once they come to Mattayom, then it might shock them how much more grammar we do. We do quite a lot more grammar. There's a lot of controlled practice of grammar that goes on. There's grammar parts in the online workbook, and like I said, consolidation is in MReader. The purpose of extensive reading is so that they see the good grammar and they can reproduce the good grammar. So if they need to write, they know that they should put the correct form of the verb to be or how to use the correct grammar in each sentence.
สำหรับผู้ปกครองที่ห่วงเรื่อง grammar นะคะของมัธยมเนี่ยเราจะมีหนังสือ Pathway ที่จะเป็นเรื่องของฟังพูดอ่านเขียนแล้วก็มีหนังสือ grammar แยกต่างหากอีกนะคะถ้าดูจากโต๊ะจะเห็นว่าจะมี grammar in context แล้วก็ตัว MReader ทั้งหลายนะคะพวก extensive reading เนี่ยอันนี้เนี่ยจะตอบโจทย์เรื่อง grammar เลยนะคะอย่างที่ Teacher Simon บอกว่ามันจะเป็นการย้ำซ้ำทวนให้เห็นบ่อยๆและเวลาใช้เนี่ยมันจะได้ใช้เป็นธรรมชาติได้แล้วก็เป้าหมายของมัธยมเนี่ยเราตั้งใจจะให้เขามีความรู้ความสามารถที่จะเอาไปใช้สอบเข้าใช้เรียนต่ออยู่แล้วเพราะฉะนั้น grammar เองก็มีส่วนสำคัญนะคะ
Excuse me. Beside the extensive reading, do you have activities or tips to encourage students to use English when they're not in the class?
So it's difficult to get students to engage on an individual basis outside the class. We do hope that families do find ways to practice with them outside the class. So if you use English at home, that's the absolute best way. I understand with teenagers, they're not exactly killing you with conversation. I'm sure they don't come home and talk for 45 minutes without stopping with you. But any way you can find to use English at home is a fantastic way of practicing. Really, the volume of work we try and give them is one of the ways that they can practice. We have a lot of different apps that we can recommend to them as well. And it comes down to an individual student's motivation. Is how much do they want to learn? How willing are they? So we have a range of students. We were actually talking earlier about one of the students who's just left us in grade 12. And she didn't take any extra classes outside school, but she was one of the strongest students in the whole school. estimate a 7.5 or 8 on an IELTS if she took a test, because like individually she wanted to watch TED Talks. She watched TED Talks because she wanted to. She read for pleasure, and as a result, she was just perfectly able to express really complex thought and emotion. And I photocopied a lot of essays when we took a test and gave them to Teacher Som because she enjoys really well-written essays. And like you do meet the students who they haven't had any extra classes and people aren't forcing them, but because they want to learn, they improve so much more by themselves. And we try and encourage, we try and motivate. I don't have a magic cure, I'm afraid. You know, teenagers are teenagers. They develop at their own rate. They have their own motivations. If I could make English as exciting as Instagram, then that would be fantastic, but I can't. So it's about trying to find ways to get them to engage with the subject. But I don't have a magic solution, I'm afraid. So it's, you know, as they develop by themselves, what do they want to do with their life? So these are the conversations we have, like what is it that you want to do? What is the purpose of English for you? Do you think you're going to use it in your life? And if not, then why not? So it's, you don't know, if you don't know what you want to do, then you should be practicing because maybe you will need it in your life. But like I say, I'm afraid, yes, Harry Houdini, I am not. I don't have a magic solution, I'm afraid.
ขอแชร์ประสบการณ์นะคะสำหรับนักเรียนที่อ่อนภาษาอังกฤษนะคะที่เราเจอที่ปีที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยพอเราคุยกับผู้ปกครองนะคะจริงๆรู้ว่าจริงๆเขาไม่ได้อ่อนภาษาอังกฤษแต่สิ่งที่เขาอ่อนก็คือว่าเขาขาดวินัยในการเรียนรู้ด้วยตัวเองนะคะนั่นคือสาเหตุที่ทำให้เขาอ่อนแค่ปรับตรงนี้นะคะแล้วเวลาได้หมดเลยไม่ใช่แต่เฉพาะภาษาอังกฤษบางทีเราก็เลยต้องชวนผู้ปกครองว่าแยกแยะให้ออกว่าเขาอ่อนภาษาอังกฤษหรือเขาขาดวินัยนะคะมันวิธีการที่เราจะช่วยเหลือเด็กเนี่ยมันจะแตกต่างกันแต่ไม่ว่าจะยังไงก็ตามเนี่ยเราช่วยกันแก้ไขซะตั้งแต่ชั้น7นะคะแล้วก็พอพื้นชั้น7แน่นทีนี้เราก็ต่อยอดอย่างที่เห็นตัวคะแนนที่เราเทสระดับ CEFR นะคะอันนี้เราใช้ข้อสอบของ Oxford จริงๆนะคะเป็นออนไลน์เทสนะคะแล้วก็ทางนู้นเขาก็จะตรวจส่งกลับมาเนี่ยเราจะเทสเด็กนักเรียนเนี่ยทุกปีสำหรับชั้น8 9 10 11นะคะแต่ชั้น7เนี่ยเราจะเทสตอนต้นปีกับตอนปลายปีเนื่องจากว่าป .6 เขายังอยู่ที่ประถมปลายอยู่นะคะเราจะเห็นความก้าวหน้าเขาอย่างมีนัยสำคัญเพียงว่าเราจัดตัว ecosystem หรือสิ่งแวดล้อมที่ให้เด็กต้องทำวันละนิดวันละหน่อยนะคะถ้าให้เด็กโหมทำครั้งเดียวตอนวันเสาร์อาทิตย์เด็กจะเกิดความรู้สึกเครียดและไม่อยากทำก็เลยอยากจะฝากว่าที่เราแนะนำผู้ปกครองมาก่อนหน้านี้คือทำวันละนิดนะคะ15นาที20นาทีทำเสร็จแล้วก็จบละถ้าอยากจะทำอีกก็เรื่องของเขานะคะหรือถ้าเขาแค่นี้ก็แค่นี้ค่อยๆฝึกกันไปนะคะ
Okay, so in summary, really, what we want to develop is all 4 of their skills. So we want them to be able to feel confident reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We're not focused only on the ONETs. We want them to get a good ONET score, and we do ONET practice, but it's not the only thing that drives us because I don't think it's the best way to teach. Only reading and grammar is not what you need for your life. So it's a very short-term approach that will benefit them on the number they get for the ONET test. But when they're 20, when they're 30, they look back and they go, okay, that wasn't so helpful in my life as it turns out. I got an okay ONET score, but I still can't talk to people. So that's not great. And you did ask what we do in class. So if you don't mind, I would like you to do an activity now. So we have an activity that we actually use in class. It's a puzzle. You have to read and understand what's going on. So if you can work with somebody next to you, I'm going to hand you out some papers. You have to try and read and identify what goes on. So this is one of the activities we actually do in the class, and then we'll play a speaking game that we actually use in the class, if you don't mind.
อันนี้เป็นตัวอย่างกิจกรรมในห้องนะคะ
They can work in pairs. So please feel free to work in a pair or work in 3s or 4s, however many you would like. So these are the clues. You have to read the clues and try and understand which person is where and what they do every day. Okay. I gave this to grade 12 at 8:30 on Monday morning, and there was a lot of noises coming through that weren't happy. So that was a grammar lesson. That would be the start of a grammar lesson that we would have. We try and start with an activity to get them thinking. It's about prepositions and directions and talking to people with this one. So here are the answers. Sorry, it's a bit small. Okay, and now the next one is a speaking game we like to play. This is a game called Taboo. So somebody will come up. If there's anyone brave, I would like to invite some people up. And you're not allowed to look at the screen. Everybody else has to tell you what is on the screen. But they can't say any words that are on the screen. So in this case, they can't say under, they can't say table, they can't say beneath, and they can't say on top. So they can use other prepositions to describe. They can say in, above, maybe they can mime as well to try and show you. So this is about practicing speaking, generally becoming more confident and less worried about looking silly, because we score this for points. They don't have much time. They have to get quite into the idea of the game, thinking about how to describe something in a different way, and less worried about looking silly because they're more worried about getting the right answer. So you build confidence, being able to answer, use English, listen to English, and increasing reaction times. So by reaction times, I mean a lot of people have the problem English into Thai, Thai back into English, and say. And in this one, they don't have time to do this one. They just have to talk before they're even thinking what they're saying, getting used to reacting quickly, saying what's coming out quickly. So thinking in English, replying in English as quickly as you can. Okay, so team 1 and team 2. I'm going to volunteer Bogie because Bogie was a student last year and she knows how to play this game. So she's going to speak first.
แบ่งเป็น2ฝากนะคะลองเล่นหนุกๆดูค่ะก็ทีม1ทีม2มาเดี่ยวๆมาเป็นคู่ก็ได้นะคะใบ้คำนะคะก็คือเราไม่มองสกรีนแล้วก็คนที่นั่งอยู่ฟลอร์ก็คอยใบ้คำ
So you just have to guess what someone's trying to tell you.
เป็นผู้ปกครองเพ
Anybody
ลิน
feeling
นะคะ
brave?
ผู้ปกครองเพลินต้องเป็นเหมือนเด็กเพลินค่ะคือถ้าเป็นเด็กเพลินนะคะคำสั่งยังไม่ทันหมดเลยค่ะเขาจะออกมาแล้วยังไม่รู้เลยว่าสั่งอะไรนะคะ
So anybody else, please feel free to talk. So you can't say what's on the screen, but you can say anything else.
It's a country.
Thailand.
The country
Japan.
flag is green, yellow, and blue.
Cameroon.
Neymar, yes. Neymar.
Brazil.
Yes.
Okay, you can say the Thai word. So I give them a list of about 200 verbs in English and in Thai at the beginning of the year. The smart people remember the verbs because then they can play this game very well.
The Thai word is บรรยาย
Explain. Describe.
Okay, there's that. Describe.
He is singer in
In what? P พี่เบิร์ดโอ้ยรุ่นเก่า
when
พี่แจ้
when the kids need this, it's some to play dolls or Lego is a the movie story.
Toy. The toy.
Yeah.
Okay,
The toy.
there we go. Okay, last one.
Huh? Paris. Paris.
That's right, but you can't say France. Okay, so this is a game I try and play for about, thank you very, very much, please. Yeah. So this is a game I try and play for about 5 minutes at the end of most lessons, just to get them engaged, speaking, thinking in English. So it really does increase your reaction times, gets you thinking about how to say something in English in a non-traditional way. So it's a problem you will meet very often is you know what you want to say, but you don't know the word. how can you describe around that? And this is a good way of practicing. Also, it's quite fun. And that's it for me today. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
มีคำถามอะไรไหมคะถ้าไม่มีสำหรับ ESL แล้วค่ะเชิญค่ะ
การเอาภาษาอังกฤษไปใช้แบบตอน outing หรือตอนที่เอาไปใช้ใน practice ใน real life จริงนะครับหรือว่าตอน outing หรือตอนที่ภาคสนามเนี่ยครับ
ภาคสนามไม่ได้ใช้แบบนี้ค่ะค่ะอันนี้ใช้อยู่ในคาบภาคสนามยังไม่มีนะครูภูภาคสนามก็เป็นกิจกรรมภาคสนามไปค่ะมีค่ะไม่เด็กที่มีความสามารถต่างกันเนี่ยเรียนแบบต่างกันไหมครับต่างกันค่ะยกเว้นชั้น9กับชั้น12ตอนนี้นะคะเราจะแบ่งห้องตามทักษะเด็กค่ะ
ต่างประเทศอะไรบ้างไหมครับ
อ๋อ
แลกเปลี่ยนอะไรอย่างเงี้ยครับ
เรามีนักเรียนไปแลกเปลี่ยนต่างประเทศประมาณปีหนึ่งสัก10 คนนะ10 คนก็กระจายกันไปประเทศต่างๆค่ะแล้วก็เขากลับมาเนี่ยบางคนก็จะมาซ้ำชั้นบางคนก็ไม่ซ้ำชั้นอันนี้ก็แล้วแต่นักเรียน
เป็นคนติดต่อหรือนั่นเองใช่ไหมครับ
โรงเรียนเราจะมีแนะนำ1 รายเท่านั้นคือ OEG นอกนั้นบางทีนักเรียนเขาก็เลือกของเขาเองจะเป็น AFS บ้างหรือว่าจะเป็นเอเย่นรายอื่นบ้างนะคะค่ะอันนี้แล้วแต่เลยค่ะเรามีระบบที่จะไปเรียนแลกเปลี่ยนอยู่แล้วแล้วเราสนับสนุนด้วยนะคะเพราะว่าถ้าเพิ่มเงินอีกนิดนึงนะคะแล้วก็เสียค่ารักษาสิทธิ์นิดเดียวก็คือค่าเทอมปีนั้นเนี่ยผู้ปกครองไม่ต้องเสียเต็มกับเราแล้วคุณก็เพิ่มอีกนิดนึงก็ไปต่างประเทศค่ะแล้วกลับมาซ้ำหรือไม่ซ้ำก็ได้เด็กส่วนใหญ่เลือกซ้ำหรือไม่ซ้ำ
เมื่อก่อนนี้ส่วนใหญ่ไม่ซ้ำครับปีล่าสุดเพิ่งมีซ้ำหลังก็แล้วแต่
บางคนเขาอยากจะทำกิจกรรมบางอย่างนะคะแล้วเขาเห็นว่า1 ปีเขาไม่รู้สึกเสียเวลาอะไรมากนะคะโดยเฉพาะที่ไปชั้น10เขาก็อยากจะกลับมาทำแดงชาตินะคะเขารู้สึกว่าเขาสนุกแล้วเขาอยากจะโชว์ศักยภาพของเขาค่ะเราแนะนำชั้น10นะ
เพราะว่าชั้น9การส่งคะแนนเพราะว่ามันต้องปิดจบคะแนนกับกระทรวงตอนชั้น9ถึงจะมีปัญหาก็เลยแนะนำในชั้น10
So we didn't separate grade 12 because they're a very small class and their abilities are closer. We do separate everyone else apart from grade 9. Grade 9 we did separate, but they really, really did not like it. So it caused some problems where the lower class was just very unmotivated and they were not enjoying English, and that is not what we want. So we mixed them back up into a mixed ability class. But for the other levels, it works well. And the reason we do it is to identify any potential problems that they have. So starting in grade 7, can they read and understand everything that they need to? Can they write full sentences? Is what they're writing making sense to them and to us as we read it? And like I said to you, nobody remembers your GPA in grade 7. We want to fix the problems that we identify. So if we see a student who can't read and understand properly in grade 7, we have to fix that in grade 7. At an introduction level, grade 7 is language-wise not too hard, but it goes up like this. So you get to grade 9 and grade 10, still can't read, it's a big problem. You don't understand anything that's happening then. You can't score well in any of the tests we do because it's just too hard. And we don't want to ignore this problem and let a student get through grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. Just if there's a problem that they can't read and understand properly in grade 7, fix it in grade 7. And then move on to grade 8, improve. So by grade 12, they're confident and they can use English. Maybe they're not the best student in the whole school, but they're the best student they can be. They've improved much, much more over their time, because it would be easy to not try and fix it. Let them go through and through and through and through and through. They leave here in grade 12, still not able to use English properly. So identify and fix the problem as soon as we can. And then in grade 8, they might change. So there's movement in between grades and levels. Some students come up, some students go down. Hopefully then by grade 10, 11 and 12, we can have the conversation with them, not as a child, but as someone to say, this is where your English is. We think it would help you the most if there's a teacher who can explain it to you in Thai, in a smaller class, and help you. So I think streaming does work because it helps people to identify any problems there are and work to fix them as soon as we can.
ก็เหมือนกับการแก้ปัญหาพฤติกรรมอื่นๆนะคะในเด็กๆเนี่ยถ้ารีบแก้ซะมันก็จะช่วยได้เร็วนะคะถ้าเด็กที่ไม่เข้าใจภาษาอังกฤษเลยนะคะอันนี้อาจจะรวมถึงคณิตศาสตร์ด้วยแล้วเขานั่งไปเฉยๆในห้องโดยไม่ได้อะไรเนี่ยเจตคติก็จะแย่ด้วยนะคะแล้วปัญหาก็ไม่ได้รับการแก้ไขเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยในบางวิชาที่เป็นวิชาทักษะเราปรับซะตั้งแต่ชั้น7นะคะถอยออกมาสอนเขาในระดับที่เขาเข้าใจให้เขามีพื้นฐานให้ทันเพื่อนแล้วพอขึ้นไปเขาก็จะไล่กันทันนะคะ
เกรด10 ถึง 11อะค่ะที่ใกล้จะเข้ามหาวิทยาลัยเห็นเมื่อสักครู่มีพูดถึงเรื่อง IELTS กับอะไร
IGCSE
ใช่อันนี้คือเป็นยังไงคะคือจะสอนด้วยหรือว่าติวให้เหรอคะหรือว่าเนื้อหาที่สอนมันสามารถไปใช้สอบอันนี้ได้อยู่แล้วหรือว่ายังไง
เด็กเลือกได้ค่ะว่าจะลงไหมเป็นวิชาเพิ่มเติมค่ะถ้าเป็น IGCSE เนี่ยเราสอน IELTS เนี่ยจะมีเกรดถ้าเด็กกล้าเลือกนะคะแต่ว่าการสอบเนี่ยก็จะสอบเกี่ยวกับการพูดการเขียนนะคะตัว
Academy for IELTS is about 40%, right?
Yes. So with the way that in grade 12 I teach the IELTS, I don't want to punish people for getting a bad score. IELTS is very difficult. So 40% of their score for that is a personal development plan. How have they learned English up to now? What will they use it for in the future? So in grade 12, most of them are thinking, what do they want to study? If they want to be a doctor, they need to develop their medical language. There's a lot of difficult language. If they want to be an engineer, then they need a lot of science and technical-based language. So they have to write a plan that will be about how they improve the English they need for their future. So that's 40% of their grade. 20% is from the course book, and then testing as well. So there has to be testing in the IELTS, but I don't want to punish them for this. And similarly, the IGCSE is outside the schedule because it's very hard. It's very, very difficult. As an elective, it would be very unpopular because it would be so much harder than most other subjects. We offered it outside the course because also the students who choose the maths and science path instead of the language arts path might also want to do it. And that was the case with grade 11. There's about half and half of the people who wanted to do it were on the maths science path, and they normally don't get to choose an English elective because they have to do a maths science elective. So it was an option that's there for them, but it's very hard, and with no score, it's not the most popular thing to do.
สำหรับ IGCSE เราจะสอนหลังเลิกเรียนแต่ว่ายังอยู่ในช่วงโมงทำงานของครูนะคะเด็กที่สนใจก็มาเรียนได้ไม่มีเกรดทีนี้ IGCSE เนี่ยมันยากนะคะบางมหาลัยเนี่ยเขาจะอาศัยคะแนน IGCSE เนี่ยใช้แทน IELTS ก็ได้แล้วก็บางมหาลัยเขาจะมี IGCSE วิชาอื่นๆนะคะถ้าครบสัก5วิชาเนี่ยก็ยื่นที่จะเข้ามหาวิทยาลัยได้แต่ว่าโรงเรียนเราจะสอนแค่วิชาเดียวคือวิชาภาษาอังกฤษค่ะแต่ถ้าเป็น IELTS ก็จะอยู่ในชั่วโมงเพิ่มเติมนะคะค่ะ
สักประมาณชั้นไหนที่เขาเริ่มรู้ตัวว่าเขาอยากเรียนอะไรเพื่อที่จะโฟกัสถูกว่าเขาจะต้องไปเน้นอะไรอะไรเงี้ยค่ะแล้วเคยมีไหมที่เขาเลือกแล้วเขากลับตัวแล้วมันทำได้ไหมอะไรเงี้ยค่ะ
มีค่ะครูภูมิ
เริ่มรู้ตัวตั้งแต่ม.2 ครับแต่ส่วนใหญ่ก็ตัดสินใจได้ตอนม.3 ครับแล้วก็ถามว่ามีเปลี่ยนไหมมี
ถึงเปลี่ยนเนี่ยแต่ก็ยังเรียนรวมไปกับเพื่อนยังไม่ได้มีการ
วิชาพื้นฐานเรียนรวมกันทุกคนครับวิชาเพิ่มเติมที่เน้นไปแต่ละสายเรียนก็จะไปสอบวิศวะเขาก็จะมีสายของเขาอย่างเงี้ยครับก็มีเปลี่ยนเพิ่มเติมทุกปี
และอันเนี้ยค่ะที่เป็นสายมันตั้งแต่ประมาณช่วงปีไหนคะที่โรงเรียนจะแบ่งสายให้เด็กม.4 แล้วก็เปลี่ยนทันไหมคะสมมติเรียนไปสักปีนึงแล้วเขาแบบมันไม่ใช่
ว่าไม่ใช่สายวิทย์แต่นะคะจะให้นะครับยกเว้นสายศิลป์แต่สายวิทย์สายวิทย์เนี่ยก็มีนะถามว่ามีไม่มีแต่ไม่แนะนำเพราะว่าเรียนหลักแน่ๆแต่อาจจะต้องเรียนเอาเป็นคลาส
ขออนุญาตถามนะคะถ้าทางเกรด7เนี่ยจะ
อ่านค่อนข้างเยอะมากซึ่งมันต่างจากที่เขาเรียนอยู่ปัจจุบันคือว่ามันจะกลายเป็นแบบว่าจากที่เรียนที่อ่านภาษาอังกฤษง่ายๆอย่าง Oxford Reading Tree เนี่ยดูเหมือนมันจะอ่านมากยากมากขึ้นซึ่งเกรงว่าแบบว่าจะมีวิธีที่จะให้เขาแบบช่วยพัฒนาเขาเองหรือว่าแค่ครั้งแรกก็คือ just reading เฉยๆหรือว่าแค่ just ว่าอ่านแล้วคุณต้องเข้าใจด้วยเพราะมันจะมีในเรื่องของ tense ที่มันทำให้เขารู้สึกว่ามันยากเขาจะไม่เข้าใจว่าเอ๊ะทำไมถึงต้องใช้จังหวะนี้เวลานี้อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะไม่ทราบว่าคุณครูจะมีแนวแบบแนะนำว่าหนังสือเรียนที่ extensive reading เนี่ยให้โยนมาเล่มนึงอ่านเหมือนกันทั้งห้องหรือว่าต่างคนต่างอ่านหนังสือที่ตัวเองชอบ
มันจะมีโปรแกรมให้เด็กเข้าไปทดสอบว่าตัวเองอยู่ในระดับไหนแล้วก็เลือกให้ตรงกับระดับนั้นนะคะระดับที่ง่ายที่สุดเนี่ยอ่านง่ายๆเดี๋ยวถ้าดูตรงนั้น
What color is the easiest?
Orange. It starts at orange. And so the way they are on the table, orange, blue, green, yellow, purple, and white. And we're actually going to change to a 9-level system so that it's even easier to understand. And we want to have a bit more differentiation because otherwise the levels were quite wide with only those 6 colors. So over this break in about 2 weeks, we're going to have 9 different levels. So students should be exactly where they should need to be.
From 6 to 9.
Yeah.
ตอนนี้เรามี6ระดับแล้วกำลังจะเปลี่ยนเป็น9ระดับเดี๋ยวคุณพ่อคุณแม่ลองไปอ่านสีส้มเนี่ยค่ะง่ายมากนะคะแล้วสิ่งที่เราใส่ใจก็คือว่าการเปลี่ยนผ่านจากชั้น6มาชั้น7นะคะจะเห็นว่าหนังสือเนี่ยจะเป็นระดับง่ายนะคะแต่ชั้น12ยากจริงๆแล้วเราก็เชื่อว่าด้วยกระบวนการที่ตัว textbook เองเนี่ยเขาผ่านกระบวนการวิจัยมาเยอะนะคะรวมทั้งตัวความเชี่ยวชาญของครูเราด้วยนะคะคิดว่าเราจะพาเด็กไปได้แล้วก็ดูจากตัวคะแนนที่เราเทสตัว CEFR ซึ่งเป็นข้อสอบมาตรฐานซึ่งเราไม่ได้เป็นคนตรวจเองเนี่ยมันก็ได้บอกได้ในระดับหนึ่งแล้วว่าเราเห็นความก้าวหน้าของเด็กจริงๆด้วยวิธีการของเราที่ทำอยู่นะคะก็ชั้น7สำหรับพ่อแม่ที่ลูกยังอ่านเขียนไม่คล่องนะคะหรือยังมีปัญหาเรื่องความรับผิดชอบเนี่ยเดี๋ยวถ้าสนใจอยู่คุยกันต่อก็ได้เพราะว่าจริงๆสิ่งที่เราเป็นห่วงนะคะคือเรื่องวินัยความรับผิดชอบส่วนใหญ่จะเป็นสาเหตุที่ทำให้เขาอ่านไม่ได้หรือทำไม่ได้มากกว่าความสามารถอื่นๆของเขาเพราะว่าระดับชั้น7ยังไม่ยากค่ะ
ปกติเห็นแนวทางของเพลินก็คือเอาจากที่เรียนรู้ในห้องเอาไปสังเคราะห์ต่อยอดต่อจากในภาคสนามแต่ในตั้งแต่ประถมต้นประถมปลายก็ไม่เคยเห็นว่าเอา ESL เอาไปใช้ในภาคสนามตรงใช้จริงเลยครับเคยสอบถามว่ามัธยมมีการเรียนรู้ไม่ใช่อยู่แค่ในห้องอะครับมันออกไปข้างนอกออกไปใช้กันบ้างไหมอย่างเงี้ยไปเป็นไกด์หรือเป็นไม่ทราบอย่างเงี้ยนะครับเผื่อในการฝึกเขาอย่างเงี้ย
ปีนี้มีโปรเจกต์ท้าทายนะคะไม่ทราบว่าฟังกันทันหรือเปล่าเพราะข้อมูลมันเยอะมากปีนี้เราทำ PBL โปรเจกต์ของมัธยมเราจะมี PBL ทุกท่านพอนึกออกนะคะเป็นโครงการอิสระนะคะทำนอกเวลาเรียนทีนี้แต่ละคนจะทำแต่ละเรื่องไม่เหมือนกันแต่ปีนี้เนี่ยเราเอาชั้น7 8 9เนี่ยจับกลุ่ม
Group of 4 or
4 or 3 or 5
โอเค3หรือ4หรือ5คนก็ได้แต่ต้องคละ3ชั้นแล้วก็จะทำ presentation เป็นภาษาอังกฤษเล่าว่าทำไมเขาถึงเลือกทำเรื่องนี้แล้วแต่ละคนต้องมาทำการนำเสนอในเรื่องที่ไม่ใช่ของตัวเองอ่ะของสมาชิกในกลุ่มเรานะคะก็ลองดูค่ะ
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.